live. We're broadcasting. Welcome, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. I'm Matt Abady.
I'm John Costino, and we have Dr. Eddie Rose for round two. Matt, how many times do you think we can get this fine gentleman to join us for these interviews?
As many times as we can before he kicks us out. That's how we're going to do. We need a lot of interviews, I think, because Dr. Rose's messages are so awesome. And just check this out real quick. Why you guys are tuning in. So I know that it says on your screen or on some of the screens it says, becoming a real life superhero. And who doesn't want to be a superhero? I mean, I know I do.
We all think we are. We actually think we are, and then we get brought back to reality. And Dr. Rose he spends a lot of time talking to Matt and I, and we're very, very blessed. But he has the ability to help any one of us actually feel and become like a superhero.
Absolutely.
And anything you wanted to share to kick this off, because we're going to cover a whole lot of different things over a whole lot of different interviews, if you'll let us.
Yeah. If you study, I'm a student of history, and you look back, especially unusual history, about things that are spiritual and, psychic and all that type of things. And you go back and you find out every society had their superheroes. And they had, and in every spiritual development had either someone they emulated or people that did had superpowers, did amazing things, and most of my study has been in, Hebrew and Jewish history and, people like Samson. Crazy stories.
Didn't Samson have a lot of hair?
Oh yeah. Samson had the hair. That's right. He was a Nazarite, and he had an oath to God, and because he made that oath to God, he had this incredible strength. They just made a movie about it. It's a new movie about Samson that was on Netflix, and it's really good.
Okay.
It's really good. But anyways, you got so many stories in Chinese history. They have people, if you watch an old kung fu movie that's made in China, you see guys jumping over buildings, and they would be chased by these army guys, and then they would jump over the building. Of course, the army guys couldn't do it. So, and that is one of the attributes, I think the Chinese call the 7 heavenly attributes. One of the things to be able to defy gravity. So you got all these different cultures that have these people who have superpowers. In the Indian culture, they're called cities. And there's something that you developed from meditation and spiritual development. So everybody has it. So the Marvel universe, the Marvel corporation is breaking all the records as far as movies because people are attracted to that. Somewhere inside, people want to be superheroes. Right. And my theory, my argument is that we are. We've just been programmed to think in lack. We've been programmed to think in weakness or dependency, and as we get rid of those programmings, we begin to see that we're capable of so much more than what we are normally.
How incredible is that? If you think about it, I agree with you. We all want to be superheroes, but deep down inside, don't we all think that we have that power? We just haven't figured it out yet. So what if Dr. Rose told you that that super strength could be real?
Yeah.
Telekinesis, moving things with your mind, is real. In basically not feeling pain, right? Courage, drumming up courage, superhero strength and courage. It's all real stuff. And what we're gonna do is actually bring it to you, so you can bring out that inner superhero that's inside. Right. It's not as if that guy is so great. It's like, no, you're so great, and that is the coolest thing of all. And with this whole thing, you watch John and I. We talk a lot about the different spiritual things. But we started talking about this. It's not, John and I aren't just about spirituality. I know Dr. Rose is not just about spirituality. It's the mind, the body, and the spirit.
Correct.
So there's going to be a lot of stuff they bring in. Right. Like Dr. Rose has a backstory that we could spend hours talking about. And we'll go into that a little bit, but we want to get into the topic at hand. But think about this. It's like things that improve your mind, improve your body and spirit. Things that improve your body, improve your mind and your spirit. So it's all tied in. So we'll bring you different things, physical things to improve your life, spiritual things, and of course mental as well. So it all ties in.
Yeah.
And to debunk anybody saying whether or not it's real, I'm going to tee up 2 softballs and you can whack them both out of the park.
Sure.
Because we've already talked about this. You mentioned throughout history and cultures. In our current society today, there are thousands of stories and examples of superhuman strength. A grandmother who sees their grandchild run over by a car, and then out of their, they lift the back end of the car. Like it's a little old grandmother. So they can't explain it other than it's somehow the mind overriding the conscious, I'm not strong enough. And then the second thing to debunk it is we've all heard the term placebo effect. And no one really understands what it is because no one talks about it. But placebo is the absolute scientific, physical, anatomical proof that you can have a disease. And you could be a part of a test study and they're getting the pharmaceutical drugs and you're getting a placebo sugar pill. And yet there are thousands of examples of people that heal themselves because they're getting a sugar pill. So you're not being cured of anything by a pharmaceutical drug if you're consuming a sugar pill. But there's the placebo effect. So I'm setting this up so Dr. Eddie Rose right now can explain how the mind really does control all that.
Because your unconscious mind or your subconscious mind, I usually use them interchangeably, but that is the master control of everything. And then we could get into details about the brain, you know, the different parts of the brain, and what they do, but just generally dealing it in one lump sum of, say, the unconscious mind, it controls everything that's going on in your body. And I believe that it is, they did a study and they came up with this figure that 2.3 million to 2.3 billion, your brain can do 2.3 to 2.3 billion things at one time. That's your unconscious mind. I'm doing good if I do 3 things at one time, you know, and I'm probably not going to do them really that great.
I was going to say,
that's not multitasking. I'm learning how to do that. But your unconscious mind is controlling every system in your body. You've got, you know, the respiratory system, the circulatory system, the lymphatic system, go down the whole line, the central nervous system. It's controlling all that right now, and it's amazing to mathematical perfection. So what I simply say is, what happens if we tap into that and allow that part of our brain to solve some of our problems, whether physically, mentally, emotionally? Why don't we allow that part of the brain to do that? And so, and that's part of my experimentation, so to speak, is that I'm putting that to test. It's happened in my life. You know, I've had amazing things happen, you know, and the one, I don't know if I mentioned before, but I had a spine disease. And I was diagnosed with acute cervical stenosis. And the issue is, stenosis is something that can be taken care of maybe, but mine was degenerative. So the doctor said pretty much not much they can do. They had surgery that they mentioned, and I said, well, what's the percentage of success? And they said 40%. I said, no, thank you. Not when I could be paralyzed if they made a mistake. No. So, and I didn't want to do narcotics because I knew what that was going to lead to. You know, for pain. You start going down that, slippery slope.
You're a lifelong customer.
Yeah, you go down a slippery slope, and then now you're addicted to it, and I didn't want that. And so and where I was at, I've long been spiritual. At this time, this probably happened maybe 9-10 years ago when I had this issue. And I was trying everything. I do the energy work. I do Qigong. I've been doing Qigong for many, many years. I was trying to solve the problem with diet. I was trying to solve the problem in many different ways. Nothing was really working. And so I remember that, you know, I didn't use hypnosis, and hypnosis is amazing for pain. So I said, what I'm going to do is I'm going to record my own voice on an MP3. And I'm listen to it every night.
Nice.
And that's what I did. So I recorded my voice, and I went through whatever, you know, the induction and everything, and then I would put my headphones on at night when I went to bed, and I listened to it. And it took a few weeks, maybe 3 weeks, before I started really noticing the pain was gone.
Wow.
And got to a point that I could, because at the time I couldn't work.
That bad?
I couldn't function. It was chronic pain. It was terrible. Every 24 hours of pain is tough. I used to cry myself to sleep sometimes, which is crazy. And you don't really appreciate what chronic pain is until you actually have it. And so the pain was leaving. And it got to a point that The pain was gone. I was able to get a job. I was go back to work again, start functioning. I started getting back into working out a little bit because I couldn't work out.
Right.
It was impossible. I was putting on weight. It was just crazy. And so, but all these things were starting to improve. So I went back to the doctor, and they did an MRI. Gone.
No.
Really?
No stenosis.
Oh, wow.
That was amazing. That changed everything for me, because I was doing all these things and nothing was working, and it was really actually depressing, because you're involved with all these different alternative health things and none of them were working.
Yeah.
You know, you start feeling kind of bad about yourself, and so and then everything changed. And the conclusion that I came to is that it doesn't matter what the modality is. If you have blockages in your brain, you have bad programming in your mind, that could be your problem.
Okay.
You could have the whole universe of energy that's all ready to come to your aid, but it has to go through the editor of the mind.
And most of that's, I don't know the percentages, I'm not a doctor, but I do play one on here in the video. Most of our programming, most of our thoughts and behaviors and patterns are on our subconscious level, correct?
Yes.
So you have to go through all the stuff you don't even know about. It's just, it's so ingrained from your childhood and who knows where else. So you have to tackle through that. But you're saying is take that, and now that's working for us now.
Right.
That's where it's happening.
Absolutely.
Because your conscious mind can only handle a little bit.
Correct.
You got to make sure you got to get to your meetings. You got to make sure you don't crash in that car in front of you. You got to make sure you're taking care of dinner for the kids.
Right.
So you use that subconscious mind to work for you and help heal you.
Right, and we don't realize how much our unconscious mind or our subconscious mind is working for us.
Right.
Because a lot of times you ever drive down the road, and then all of a sudden you say, wow, I just drove 10 miles and I don't even remember it. Your mind was going somewhere else. That was your unconscious mind doing that. Your unconscious mind had total control. And so there's a lot of things that we do. We daydream, and there's a lot of things that our unconscious mind kind of sneaks in and takes care for us. And so, people, I'm sure you've heard it said that we only use 5% of our brain.
I heard
Well, that's not correct. We use 100% of our brain. Mm-hmm. We're only conscious of 5%.
Okay.
And that 5% is what we try to take on everything in life.
Gotcha.
So that 5%, is where your willpower is, where your critical analysis is, where your intellect is. All that is what you're trying to work with. Mm-hmm. And there's another 95% that we're not tapping into. And my thing is that one of the reasons why I'm doing hypnosis now, and I've kind of put everything else on hold. I do a bunch of stuff. I do martial arts, qigong, energy work. I do a lot of things. I put all that stuff on hold to do hypnosis because I want to help people get past the bad programming. Mm-hmm. I want to kind of focus on people, look at me and say, okay, this is a guy I can come to. If I had this problem for 20 years, come to me. I'm going to help you. It's not me, it's doing it. I'm going to help you discover how to tap into your true self, who you really are. That's that superhero guy that you, or superhero woman that you are.
And it's just amazing. So people we're coming live right now, just if you could chime in, who would not benefit from getting rid of stress, or do you suffer from anxiety or chronic pain, or any of these debilitating things in our lives? Imagine being able to program your body and your mind to release that.
Yes.
How would your life improve? How would you live every day if you didn't have a sore back? If you didn't have anxiety where you couldn't even go out in crowds?
Paralyzing fear,
Yeah, exactly. If you lived your life without fear, you would be a superhero. That's the whole thing about superheroes. Right. Your courage comes from not living in fear, but living past the fear, right?
Yeah,
and going through it. So imagine if you can do that. And it's kind of like for my, some of the people that are part of my audience will say, we're going to kind of bring it down a level, so let's say. So like what superhero would you want to be like? Right. Because in the future episodes, you can even chime in and let us know, hey, do you want to be able to learn how to use mind powers like Professor X, or do you want to have healing powers like Wolverine, or superhero strength like Superman, right? Yeah. Or super good looks like John Costino, whatever, whatever it is.
Oh, that might be too far.
Yeah, well, that's
you're already pushing it too far.
So, but these things are all in your grasp except for the last one. And it's like, you can do that, and Dr. Rose can help you, and it actually helps us, letting us know kind of things that you're interested in, because you, let's be honest, you don't really care what he knows. You want to know what you can do, right? So why don't you become an active participant and let us know kind of what you're looking for. And then Dr. Rose will tap into that. But I know one of the huge things you're into right now is alleviating chronic pain and anxiety.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you want to talk about that for a little bit, or however you got, I mean, whatever is on your heart, because anything he says is going to help.
Yeah, it's you know, for me, it's just been a crazy discovery, because that me being ill and having that miraculous healing opened up a whole, you know, universe to me. And so I started getting hungry. I got hungry to want to, you know, learn more. And then, you know, because you know, until you search, you don't know what's out there.
Right.
And I start finding out this stuff. It's crazy. It's stuff that we don't get taught. It's not. It's so simple. It's like, for instance, dealing with pain. You know, pain is a sensory communication to the brain. Mm-hmm. Your brain determines if something hurts or not. So when you touch your hand, it's the same senses, it's the same nerves. You know, as I usually have a pin, I can stick it or rub it, which one hurts. Well, your brain determines on which one hurts. Mm-hmm. You know, and sometimes people are out of whack and they have fibromyalgia or something like that, where everything hurts. Yeah, it's crazy, but it's all here. So I've discovered a way of turning it off here. Now that's a power that you have to handle very, you know, meticulously and with wisdom, because, and I do that. One time I smashed my foot, and I was like, perfect time to do this. Pain gone. And then I was like, pain's gone. Then I thought to myself, I better look at my foot and make sure it's okay. You know, the last thing I want to do is to promote something that's damaged. Right. So what I teach people, whether it's physical, mental, or emotional pain, that the pain is a messenger. Mm-hmm. So when you receive pain is not bad. Pain can tell you that something's wrong on whatever level it is. Mm-hmm. So once you recognize the pain, you acknowledge it, and then you understand where that pain is coming from, and then you're going to deal with it as something then you can turn it off. Right. The messenger gave you the message, mm-hmm. You've accepted the message, you reviewed the message, and then you say to the messenger, bye. Mm-hmm. That makes sense. Somebody comes and brings a message and everything, I come here and look at it, open it up, I see what it is and everything, it's okay, I got it, this is for me, bye. And the messenger leaves. Right. You don't ask the messenger to come in and live with you. Right. You don't make a bunk for them and start feeding them. And that's what we're taught to do. We're taught to live in pain. When you live in pain, it becomes suffering. Yeah. And suffering is an illusion. I don't believe in suffering. I don't believe that we need to suffer anymore. Mm-hmm. But pain is something that you have to have wisdom with. Right. So when somebody comes to me and asks me about, you know, something that hurts them, I ask them, have you seen a doctor about it? You know, okay, what is your diagnosis? You know, what are you doing to take care of that? Because if it's something serious, for instance, you know, a back pain. I just don't take away back pain until a person actually finds out what the pain is. Right. But once they discover what it is, then you know, once they're in the process of getting that problem healed, pain goes like that. Easy, simple. But we've been programmed to live in pain. Isn't that amazing?
Yeah. You know, how many times you say, "Oh, I have a bad back," or I have this, or I have that. But yeah, you do. Yeah. You keep telling yourself you have that all the time. Right. How about you tell yourself a different message and then you kind of reframe that? You could have an injury, but you know what I'm saying? Like you're reaffirming that you're sick or that you're hurt or that you're in pain every single day. It's like when people get in the mirror and they do like their mirror work, like you are worthy, you are good. Yep. Well, yeah, you are, but it's the same thing if you're doing the opposite. Like, oh, I'm old. Oh, I have a bad hip, or I am whatever. You know what I mean?
Whatever you focus on.
Exactly.
Now you brought something up. I apologize for interrupting your thought earlier. No. But you triggered something that I would love for people to hear.
Sure.
You worked with your mom after a stroke.
My dad.
Your dad after a stroke.
Right.
and had amazing results that the doctors could not explain.
Right.
Would you mind sharing a little bit of that story? Because I know so many people out there are like, well, how does this help me? What could it do for me?
Right. And and it's this is not something that's woo way out there, because I actually had a conversation with the physician that was taking care of my dad, and I was saying, this is what I'm doing, just so you know. And he said, okay, continue, And so basically what it is that stroke, when a stroke happens, and this is really in a simplistic form, I'm not trying to be a doctor.
No, listen.
I am not a medical doctor, but so what happened was that the stroke produced a certain amount of brain damage. It damaged a part of the brain. And so when my dad had a stroke, it was a massive stroke. At the time, it was life-threatening, and so he couldn't talk. He was totally paralyzed in his right side. He couldn't do anything on the right side of his body. So obviously the damage was on the left side of the brain, so it affected the right side. And so, I lost my train of thought here, but and he couldn't talk. In the beginning, he had no memory, which is crazy. He didn't know who anybody was. Now, after, through whatever was in the hospital, he got his memory back, but he still was limited in his ability to talk. And thank God for, the doctors, what they were doing, and he was going through, what's it called, rehab. And so all those things were a part of the equation. But what I did to help him to where he gained everything back, because he was 80 years old. So, normally people who have strokes at that age, many times they don't recover.
They just write them off, right?
Yeah, they don't recover. And so what I explained to Dad was that the same way that years ago, I don't know how it is now, but years ago, whenever power went out in the neighborhood, let's say a capacitor blew up, and then the lights would all go out. And then about 10, 15 minutes, all the lights come back on. Well, they didn't fix the capacitor that fast. A lot of times the trucks weren't even there to make the repair. What they did is they recircuit the electrical, reroute the currency, and so that everybody's lights could come back on. And it's the same way the brain works. So when I was telling my dad that, I was encouraging him that this is what the process is doing. And you've got to fight for it. You got to speak to yourself, because talking is, you talk, it's using your brain. And I don't get into the detail of that, but the same area that controls you speaking things has a control in other parts of the central nervous system. So when you say I'm sick, you're opening the door for you to get sick. I'm sick and tired of this. Well, I don't use those kind of words anymore because I don't want to be sick, and I don't want to be tired.
Right.
So I don't use that. So if something I don't, I might not like something, I don't like it, but I don't use that sick and tired phrase anymore because I'm just producing what I don't want. Does that make sense?
That makes sense.
So I encourage my dad. I don't get into too much detail, but I encourage my dad, and I helped him walk through this thing. And so now the end result is that he's doing great. He's 88 years old. He's independent. He lives by himself. He drives. He's got. I mean, he's functioning. He remembers stuff that I don't remember. I mean, he said, "I remember this," and I'm like, "Damn, I was 8 years old." He said he remembers it. So I'm very happy, and I encouraged him, and I believe I was a part of that, because I encouraged him, do not be limited. Don't think that, because before he could barely walk, and before he was wheeling around in a wheelchair all the time, and now he's walking, and he's 88 years old, so sometimes he needs a cane or a walker, especially late at night, but it was an amazing thing. So, and these things are just additions to what we already know how to do. Does that make sense?
That makes absolute sense.
Yeah.
It is. The power of thought. And
thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, so it's, so this is not something that, some weird thing where I just touch you on the head, and fall on the floor, and then suddenly you're healed. I'm not saying it's not possible.
They were tuning in to see if you were going to make Matt and I cluck like chickens.
Oh, I got a few tricks up my sleeve, so I'm really careful, yeah.
So it makes perfect sense that everything we're talking about right now is like real life, and And that was one thing that was really important, John and I were talking about before we got here to Dr. Rose's office, is that if some people are into the metaphysical, into the spiritual, into whatever, and it's absolutely fantastic, but we want to speak to people also along the lines that are just regular people, regular dudes, you know what I mean? And bring this type of stuff, like someone that usually, I don't know, goes, I'm just gonna be very stereotypical, so like if you dude goes to the drum circle and he's putting patchouli all over him and he's wearing his feathers and everything, like that dude is really usually probably open to this type of message, you know what I mean? It's like they're already, that's the thing they're into. But the guy that's 21, 22 years old that spends most of the time watching football and drinking beers and chasing after girls or whatever, like,
I mean, a guy like that goes to Miller's Ale House and watches UFC.
Exactly. So basically, let's show to everybody how this relates to everybody. And this isn't just some, like Dr. Rose said, not just some spiritual foo stuff. It's like, oh, I'm gonna pull it out of the air, you know, out of the ether. Because there is a truth to a lot of it, but if it doesn't sit and you don't listen and you don't hear it, you're not going to gain any benefit from it, and it's not going to help you. You have to digest it and be like, all right, I want that. Like, show me more, because he can give you the best message in the world, but if you're not listening, it's not going to help. So we're going to try to, I don't want to say dumb it down, that's not the right word, but we'll make it more digestible, water it down, the message a little bit. That way it's accessible for everybody, and then if you're ready for more, definitely private message this guy. If you want to come in, if you're in the Southwest Florida area, you can physically come here. You can do things online, on the phone, all these different things. And I don't know if you maybe can throw a couple different things like I did before of future videos. Maybe like I can show them how to do this or this. And maybe today, I don't want to put you on the spot, maybe you can give them something they can start to do right now to show them how they really are a superhero, and they can practice it until your next video. That'd be kind of cool. I don't know.
I don't know. Yeah, it's a good question. Yeah,
so it's kind of, unless you kick it around your subconscious mind that we were talking about, and your conscious. But healing, right? We talk about that, healing your body, chronic pain, getting rid of the pain, because the opposite's true too. Like you mentioned, fibromyalgia, everything causes pain, but there's also those people that are born with that disorder where they don't feel any pain. They usually don't live too long because they end up breaking things or getting injuries and they don't feel it. So you can shut the pain off. And you can shut it off, turn it on to a certain level, right? So your mind, the pain, the chronic pain, imagine getting up out of bed every day and feeling good and not being in pain and not having that anxiety that's holding you back from getting that new job or talking to that person or doing whatever, and living, like people say, your best life. Like living your best life like a superhero, like you're confident, you're feeling strong, you're not in pain, and you don't care. Something happens, I have courage. Imagine living like that. Well, you can. That's the whole point, right? And you should. That's the more important thing. You're supposed to be living like that. You're not supposed to be throwing tons of pills to numb your body and your mind, your spirit and your soul. You're not supposed to do that. You're supposed to live. That's what it's about. Life is about living, right? Not about just sustaining, and not just about getting through the day and just living a life like this until you're dead. It's about living. So why not the amount of time that we have on this earth? Why don't we enjoy it, right?
Absolutely.
So that's
what it's really about.
So,
absolutely.
So you can be a superhero, and you should be a superhero.
That's right.
That's what I think.
You are a superhero.
Yeah.
And you just didn't get the script yet.
Right.
Yeah. You just didn't know.
And the answer is not to be bombarded with gamma rays or some
bit by
a spider, radioactive spider, or be a super genius billionaire that can create all kinds of.
That's okay.
That's all cool and that's great for movies, but in real life, it's all about changing your lifestyle, and it starts here. And as you change the way you think and understand that you're much more capable. We were talking about lifting the grandmother or the mother, lifting the car off the child. Science. Neuroscience is beginning to understand that we're capable of doing that. That is something that before it was just something that happened and nobody had any answers. Now the neuroscience is beginning to study more and more about the brain, and it's understanding that we're capable of doing things, that are way beyond what we've been programmed to believe.
We've been limited to.
Limited to, exactly. And so my encouragement is that and how I've done it, and we say, to speak for myself, I'm my own guinea pig, is one by one I've dealt with things. I still work out, and I still do things, and I think I'm 20, and I go and I do something, and then, a couple hours later, I feel like I'm ready to go in traction. Well, what do I do? Do I go and do some kind of narcotic? No, I simply do practice what I preach. And I practice on myself, and then it's gone. And then I'm back to normal again. And then I think about, okay, maybe next time I won't pretend I'm 20, maybe 25. Mm-hmm. And then I go, and that's what I do. I try to find that happy medium where I don't have to fix myself. But ultimately, my goal is to be able to do what I could do when I was 20, and not 25.
Right. Because a lot of that stuff holding us back is because we think,
absolutely,
I'm old, I can't do that stuff anymore.
Right.
Well, you can.
Yeah. Well, think about people saying, I'm too old.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, that's a phrase that just flows naturally out.
Absolutely.
I'm too old for that. Why?
Right. Exactly.
Because you think you are. Right.
And there's things that we've accepted in our society. There's things that illnesses, limitations, things of that nature that we've accepted, and we've been programmed to accept it. And I'm sorry, I don't accept